Good evening, guys, boys, girls, and toys. Welcome to the Piledriver podcast. This weekly edition will see us talk about legendary heels. I will lead that segment myself, the Heartbreak Kid. But for the news, let's go over to Gavin and tell us what's going on. Gavin, come on.
We'll start with the worst of the two, I suppose. James, is it Macaron?
Macaron?
Jimmy Havoc. Anyway, he's been released by AEW now.
Why has he been released, Gav?
Because he's a touchy-feely rapey, apparently.
Another one to the list now, sadly.
Yep.
Should we have the booing sound effect?
I think we should, shouldn't
we?
Yeah.
Definitely, without a doubt.
Not good, Jimmy Havoc. Get out of town, man.
Get out of town.
Get out of town. Get out of town.
We don't need you.
And
not very
next.
much of a loss either, is it? Getting rid of him after that.
Well, no, I don't really want to talk about it if that's what is it. I mean, it's allegations, okay. You know, if he's been released, that means that they know people. They know you won't be released if he's not. There's not something to it.
Definitely.
So next, Gavin, what we got next on the news front?
James Harris, also known as Kamala, has actually died this week from COVID, age 70.
Did he die from COVID? I don't want to get into conspiracies. I know he only had 0 legs left at the time of his death.
He did. Yeah.
But I tell you what. Yeah. Do you not give him some pop? What a great competitor he was in his prime. Feuded against The Undertaker. Had some great matches in the WWF. And he looked scary as well, didn't he, when he was in his pomp? That face paint. And, you know, it was a good wrestler.
He had some good Ultimate Warrior as well, I recall. So, as well as, obviously, The Undertaker. I think that was the main one, wasn't it? That was like the main sort of pinnacle of his career, was his feud with The Undertaker. But yeah, sort of a sad end really after his wrestling career, because as you've already touched on, he had a lot of illnesses, didn't he?
He did.
Obviously, potentially relating to weight, because obviously he suffered from diabetes as a result of that as well. As
absolutely.
Already touched on, he had to have both legs amputated as well.
He was on weekly dialysis.
As I usually do, I normally have a story about something, and I've got a story about Kamala.
Of course.
In the 80s, might have been early 90s, he was working with Andre the Giant. And Andre the Giant was very well known just for being an absolute arsehole in the ring. He would absolutely hurt you on purpose. If he didn't particularly like you, or if he didn't think you respected the business like you should, or you know, in them days, you know what it was like. They really played the part of it's real, you know. And something happened in the ring, and Kamala punched Andre the Giant backstage.
Wow.
And he then confronted him a little bit later, not the same day, different day, with a gun. And he says, if you don't fucking respect me, I will fucking kill you.
Wow.
Andre the Giant apologised, and they got on all right after that.
Yeah, it's funny, like, you know, I think having a gun would probably get you to that stage, really, wouldn't it? You know what I mean?
Well,
it'd work for them.
He didn't use the gun, so, you know, and also, I think, you know, good on you, man. Stuck up for yourself against Andre the Giant. I mean, fucking hell. His hands were like about that big. You know what I mean?
No one can see your hands, Phil.
Well, that's even more fun. They can imagine my hands being 10 foot tall. Right, let's get on with it. So this week's section, this week's section, feature. Main event is about legendary heels. Now, there's so many legendary heels, we can't fit them all on. And if you want to tell us who your favourite legendary heels are in the comments, that would be brilliant.
Excellent.
So I'm going to start with Sergeant Slaughter.
Yes.
Now, Sergeant Slaughter was always a great worker before he was called Sergeant Slaughter. But the main his main heel gimmick was when he was turned into a sympathiser to Saddam Hussein and all that regime. And he went into wrestling arenas in America getting absolutely hammered by all these Americans because they thought it was real. And they're throwing beer bottles in. Oh, God, he needed security. He needed security just to keep him safe.
Yeah.
Now, the main reason he was brought in was because Ultimate Warrior beat Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 6. Because WWF at the time decided that they wanted a new hero. Hulk Hogan was old. The kids love Ultimate Warrior. Now, the problem with Ultimate Warrior was, which I'm sure Dave will do on another show, was it wasn't always the most reliable sort.
No.
So they realised this pretty quickly and decided that they need somebody to transition between Ultimate Warrior having the title and Hulk Hogan getting it back. So in came Sergeant Slaughter. Absolute genius move because the fans hated him like he should have heel. Absolutely played it to the best of. Absolutely brilliant. Can't give enough love and respect for Sergeant Slaughter.
Loved to hate him, didn't they?
Absolutely loved to hate him.
Yeah.
He came in, did the job. I think it was Royal Rumble '91, beat Ultimate Warrior, and dropped the title to Hogan at WrestleMania 8.
Yeah.
Any thoughts other than that? I mean, I think after WrestleMania 8, that was pretty much it for that version of Sergeant Slaughter.
I think what I found quite interesting and was brilliant at building up the heat for Sergeant Slaughter was his affiliation with Colonel Mustafa and also General Adnan as well. Yeah. Because at that time, you've got to think of what was going on politically at that time. It was Gulf War.
Yes, it was right on point.
War was going on. So when you had somebody who was Sergeant Slaughter, representing the American Army gimmick, siding with Middle Eastern wrestlers.
Absolutely, dressing in an Iraqi uniform all of a sudden.
Yeah. And it was just like...
It was controversial.
Man alive. Apart from kicking over a few prams, I don't think that guy could have got more heat if he tried. Do you know what I mean?
It was very successful in the role.
And I think in terms of a movement to get the title off Warrior and to get it back onto Hogan, I think it was a genius move by WWF to do.
Yes,
that. Really do.
It was absolutely brilliant in between.
Yeah, it was seamless, wasn't it? It was seamless.
There was no way, I don't think Ultimate Warrior would have agreed to dropping the title to Hogan. It was arrogant, man. I know you love him, Dave, I know you do, but it very arrogant, very paranoid.
Yeah.
Wasn't even that good a wrestler, but what he did have, he was very good at.
Yeah.
I liked the Warrior as well. I remember being like 10 years old and seeing him shake them ropes. It was the most brilliant thing in the world at the time. It was like, wow, this guy's a different fucking thing to Hogan altogether.
Yeah.
This is, whoa, madman. But Sergeant Slaughter was definitely needed, and he fit in so well between them two. He really did.
Thoughts on Sergeant Slaughter then, Gav? I mean, what do you know of Sergeant
Might be a
Slaughter?
bit early for Gav. Do you know anything about?
It was a bit early, yeah. I was only like 4 at the time when he won.
You've had the WWE Network. I'm sure you watch the older stuff.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I managed to catch up on his EP that released as well. Sergeant Slaughter and Camouflage.
Yeah.
Rocks America.
Wow. Yeah, you see, I always leave it to you to know something that we don't. Excellent. Right, I'm going to move on then. Another one that I remember again from my youth, so I apologise, but when $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, was a great heel. He was a great heel. He was always the bad guy. And he always, I remember WrestleMania 4. I know it's going back. They had the big tournament and Randy Savage ended up the champion. But Andre the Giant was a competitor. And $1 Million Man was paying Andre the Giant to win the title for him. Yes. And it was always about money. But he wasn't just like that. He was a great wrestler as well. He was a great wrestler, great worker.
Phil, the guy was that filthy rich, he even bought his own belt and brought that into it, the $1 million belt. Do you remember that?
That belt was worth $1 million because of all the diamonds on it. Yeah, absolutely. They had to have security when that.
Showing my age, but back in the day, distinctively on one of the many holidays to Butlins, and in the arcade parlour, there was this wrestling game, and at the time, like being 10, I thought it's never going to get any better than this game. Like nothing ever.
To be fair, I played WWE 2K20, and you're right.
Oh, I never played that.
You know
that's a podcast for another time. Best and worst wrestling games.
I nearly bought it last night, pissed up.
This arcade, it had so the faces were Warrior, Hogan, Demolition, and the heels were Virgil, $1 Million Man, Andre the Giant,
Undertaker,
Big Boss Man, and they were all
Big Boss Man.
Stable. They were all in a stable together because Virgil was obviously Ted DiBiase's bodyguard, wasn't he?
Yeah, I remember that. And then they fell out, and he won the belt off him.
That's right, he won the
$1 million belt. He won the $1 million belt.
22 days of his reign.
Right.
Now, if you also remember Stone Cold Steve Austin when he was the ringmaster.
That's it.
Yes. He was managed by $1 Million Man.
He was.
He was the $1 Million champion. Yeah, absolutely. Now, $1 Million Man, you know, he was a big player. He was a great wrestler. Great on the microphone. Very, very, absolutely wrestling through his blood there. He was top heel, in my opinion.
There's also a fantastic documentary as well. Just before we end the $1 Million Man segment, there's a really, really good documentary about Ted DiBiase Sr. and it's on Amazon Prime as well. And it's all about his career, going up the peaks, the fall afterwards, and how he became born again Christian as well and went into ministry. So
yes, really I remember saying something about that, about going into the born again Christian thing. Yeah. I mean, I liked him as a kid. I'm pretty sure I had his action figure when I was about 11. In his like dinner suit, dinner jacket, you know, that attire. He was just a great character. He was a really good character, simple as. And, you know, you wanted to hate him because he was a baddie. Yeah. And he was good at it. So he makes the list as well.
Very good heel.
Next one. Now, I didn't really know about this guy much until very recently when I started reading about him and watched a few of his fights. Bruiser Brody is very famous from working the independents. Possibly if he didn't actually, unfortunately, get killed in a locker room before he was due to appear at an event by a fellow wrestler. He may have gone on to star in somewhere like the WWF. Personally, I think he would have been a brilliant heel to match Hogan because he was height, size, his body was a specimen. He was a mean man. He was big and he was strong and he'd hurt you. And he'd hurt you for real. Oh, he was massive without being fat. He was in good shape. He was one of them, what they call shoot wrestlers. They'd hurt you for real in the ring. You know, if you was a bit green or they thought you didn't respect the business. It was all about the business and safeguarding the integrity of the business. That's what they'd call it. And it was all about making everybody else outside the business think it's real.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And Bruiser Brody was one of the absolute forefathers of that. He was he was a mean man. There's a big statement anyone listening tonight, please look up Bruiser Brody. If you want to be a wrestling fan and you want to know a bit of wrestling history, then research him because this guy was mean, really mean. You wouldn't want to meet him. You know, if you met him as a fan and you said, "Oh, it's wrestling's fake," he'd probably clock you on. He'd probably clock you on. How fake's that? And that's happened before.
6'8" and 300 pounds as well.
To be that size and be only 300 pounds, that shows you was in shape.
Yeah, he looked after himself, didn't he?
He looked great. I've seen some photos.
Stabbed to death by a wrestler called Jose Gonzalez.
Apparently they had wrestled before, and Bruiser obviously was such a tough worker in the ring. He hit him, and he says, I'm going to kill that man one day. He told somebody else. He told a fellow wrestler, I'm going to kill that man one day. And he did. And he got away with it.
And sadly, he was acquitted, wasn't he, due to self-defence.
Yes.
Which was agreed in court. But Bruiser Brody,
absolutely bullshit. The guy invited Bruiser Brody into the shower to talk about work.
And it's a shame because, I mean, you look at some of the monikers that Bruiser Brody went under. It's King Kong Brody, the Masked Marauder. Now, that's just some of the footage I've seen of Bruiser Brody, is the Masked Marauder, and Red River Jack as well. But the Masked Marauder one was the one that I've seen most of his footage on. And just an absolute unit of a guy. Do you know what I mean? The more, if there is anyone educated enough to, I'm not insulting anyone's intelligence. The ones that are listening, I'm pretty sure you probably know more than I do. But Bruiser Brody wasn't always a heel, but I did want to include him in this list because I think it's important, and I wanted to talk about him. He was a heel mostly, but there was a few territories that he wrestled in where they just liked him that much. Even if he tried to be a heel, they still cheered for him. If you know what I mean. Yeah. And I think it's a nice touch as well that he didn't have, obviously, a huge career in WWF/WWE, but when you go onto their website, they have got a bio page for Bruiser Brody on there as well, which I think is a nice touch. And there's some good interviews you can see with Bret Hart sharing stories about him as well.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Gav's got at least one more fact about him that we don't know.
He was on Dark Side of the Ring.
Talking about the absolutely Dark Side of the Ring. If you've not seen that series, anyone listening, it's a great series. And he does feature on a Dark Side of the Ring episode. Chris Jericho does the narration for that season 2.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, it's a great series. Is Dark Side of the Ring anyway?
It is. They're all every episode's worth a watch.
And and last year, it was only last year as well. He was inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame.
That's the one I thought Gav would have told us. Missed out this time. You know, you're losing your touch, Gavin. Okay, moving on then. Shall we move on? We've only got so much time. We've got 25 minutes left, guys. Daddy Dave has got to do a daddy thing. It's understood. We all have to do them. So we've got to pick up the heir to the throne.
So the next one.
Is that the King of the Ring?
King of the Ring?
I don't know, I'm just confusing you now. Right, it's okay, next.
I've not slept much, Phil.
Right, anyway, listen.
Sorry, daddy duties, yes, I've got to pick up the heir to my throne, yes.
Oh,
the King of the Ring shortly, yes. Sorry, Phil. I'm on the same page as you now, Phil.
You've got it, you're caught up, brilliant.
Did you wear the cogs 10 then, Phil?
I did actually, I hope just, okay, we'll edit that out later. So Dave gave me this suggestion earlier, but I was already thinking about him.
Brilliant.
Psycho Sid.
Yes.
Now, Gavin, what do you know about Psycho Sid? Anything?
Hey, Sid UD is his name.
He was a big guy, big bugger, big blonde hair.
What did he originally start off as?
I think he started in the WCW, or probably the territories, NWA and all that sort of stuff.
Remember his name though when he first came into WWF?
Sid Vicious. Sid Vicious?
No, before that.
No.
Sid Justice.
Sid Justice. Oh, well, that obviously didn't work, did it? Do you know what? I do recognise that face. But that guy was only ever made to be a heel. He could not be a face. He just didn't have the movement, nothing.
Because he turned on, I believe, was it Hogan he turned on?
Yeah, that was his first feud, I remember.
Yes.
WrestleMania 8. Was it WrestleMania 8?
Yeah.
He had because Papi Shango was supposed to go into the ring and interfere, but he missed his cue and he had to do something different.
Yeah, he did.
Psycho Sid, the one I remember the most, and the feud I remember the most was a bit later, and it was when he was feuding with Shawn Michaels.
Yes.
Psycho Sid was the big bully. I'm going to beat up Shawn's trainer. Shawn Michaels apparently had such a bad cold, but still fought. And I think it was at a Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Might have been 97. And Shawn beat him with a super kick to win the title.
Yes.
Great storytelling at the time. Really good storytelling. Psycho Sid was massive and scary, and he'd beat you up. He's definitely the reason he's on this heel list today.
I mean, the thing about Psycho Sid, or Sid Vicious, as he's probably more commonly known as, he was due to be the guy to replace Hogan in WWF. He was going to be the next big thing. Built up, he had the physique. He had
it was great physique.
He had the anger and the passion on the mic as well, doing his promos with, God rest his soul, Mean Gene Kelly. Mean Gene Okerlund even. Mean Gene Kelly, where did I get that from? Mean Gene Okerlund even. And and it just went belly up.
You know what I mean, Mean Gene? I've had plenty of times on my smack with myself, Mean Gene. I know what he means. Sorry, Dave, carry on.
But
some good wine.
But his heel turn was absolutely brilliant. Because he was due to be up there with Warrior and Hogan, and he teamed up with them, didn't he, to fight the Triangle of Terror, which was Sergeant Slaughter, Colonel Mustafa, and General Adnan. And that's what it was all about.
I never knew that. I've never seen him as a face.
First ever big match at SummerSlam 91, I think it was.
Oh dear. I'm just going to do a shout out to Mr. Templum. He's just added me as a friend. While I'm on. So I'm going to give a shout out. Hello.
Temple of Boom.
How do you say his first name? Sorry. Carulos. Hi, my friend. We are now friends on Facebook. Enjoy the podcast. Let's carry on. Sorry.
Friends.
And
wrestling friends.
Podcast friends. And Sid was great as a heel.
I can't imagine him having enough charisma to pull off being a babyface.
Yeah, I just don't think. And he was picking up a lot of injuries as well when he first started his wrestling career. When he got pushed onto the big stage, known for being a little bit clumsy in the ring, picking up injuries. Has anybody ever seen the footage of him jumping off the top rope and breaking his own leg?
Yeah,
I can imagine him doing that.
I've
not seen.
Epic.
Oh,
he just jumps off and he's nowhere near his opponent. And
his leg goes.
Yeah, and his leg literally it just collapses, man. And then there's another great one as well.
Don't watch it.
Where when he goes to WCW, and he's got a feud going with the Outsiders, obviously Scott Hall and Kevin Nash.
Yeah, well keep don't say anymore.
And Sid's cutting a promo, and Sid accidentally calls himself stupid in the promo.
Yeah.
And it's in front of all the fans as well. And Nash and Hall just absolutely lap it up. So there's some other footage. So, there's some of the not so great side of Sid's career. But
he could have done a lot more, maybe. He could have been a heel for years, and he never seemed to stick around long enough at one promotion to really get that big, in my opinion. I know he's been big. He was always quite big. It was a name. He always feuded at the top of the card. But if he'd have stuck at, look at The Undertaker, man. He could have had the same sort of career as that.
He could have done. And I think
Phil, I've put a link to the leg break in the group chat because it's a thing of magic.
Honestly.
Excellent. I will have to watch that later. I hope everyone else listening watches it too.
Most people in the world couldn't do that if they tried. and it was just brilliant. But yeah, Sid's big heel turn came when he eliminated the Hulkster, didn't he, from Royal Rumble? He eliminated the Hulkster. The crowd went mental, and Hulkster held on to Sid's arm, and then Ric Flair eliminated Sid, and Ric Flair won the Royal Rumble.
And with it, the very first time that the Royal Rumble winner was awarded the WWF Championship belt.
Yes, that was it. Absolutely. Whereas now it's Ticket to Mania, isn't it?
Right, moving on.
Yes.
NWO.
Oh.
Now, this was the greatest heel faction of all time, probably. You're going to argue. Some people are going to say the Four Horsemen. Some people are going to say the Von Erich family. But the Firebirds.
What other people say Blue World Order?
But the New World Order. And I am talking about the original three. The original three. Hall, Hogan, and Nash. Hogan, Hall, and Nash. The original three of the NWO was quite refreshing, actually, when it came out. It was awesome. Come on, they beat everybody up, they spray painted people's bodies, they disrespected people, and if it weren't for them, then I don't think WWF would have ever got their asses in gear and brought out the Attitude Era.
Gav, what's your take on the NWO and from what you've seen and the various members that are in terms of them being on this this list of top quality heels?
I prefer the Blue World Order.
The Blue Meanie.
Okay, I can see. I heard disdain in your voice there, Davey boy. Right? There's not. NWO is one of the greatest heel factions ever. If it's just the three of them, forget about all the bloody other ones. Wolfpack, Red, whatever, Black, White.
Yeah.
Hogan, Hall, and Nash. Them three were absolutely formidable when they was together.
Would you agree that it
originally
really,
together?
When it really kicked off, when the third man was revealed, and then obviously the third man comes down, and all of a sudden it's Hulk Hogan comes down, and
Hogan's coming to save Randy Savage, man! He's coming to save Randy Savage! Yes, Hulkamania!
Yes, Phil.
And Hulkamania delivered a fucking leg drop on Macho Man Randy Savage.
Atomic leg drop, in fact.
Yeah, atomic leg drop, and then revealed to be the third man.
Hollywood Hogan was born.
Hollywood Hulk Hogan, yes.
Absolutely.
Hogan. Brilliant.
I mean,
do you know what? I loved the NWO. I know in terms of wrestling ability, they weren't the greatest.
Didn't matter.
But you've got to go on charisma. You've got to go on. Some people are just great at building a crowd up and turning a crowd and getting the heat. These three guys just had it nailed on.
For at least 1 year, they ruled. They owned the wrestling world, and then it got to Eric Bischoff fucked it up.
Can I just say what I think really killed the NWO?
Oversaturation?
Yeah, I think so. Overexposure, massively. I think the various different factions, like you touched upon, Phil, you know, you had
ridiculous
NWO,
in the end.
Wolfpack, NWO Red, which is obviously led by Sting. But for me, what really...
How many New World Orders are we having?
There's two, exactly, yeah. I mean, they were going to go on forever. I mean,
I've counted the members as well just now. 41.
41 members, man. Do you know what I mean?
Ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It's kind of like, you know what I mean? I think
that's a roster's worth of wrestlers.
I think only the Bullet Club could eclipse that. But when they came back to WWE, and then Hall got fired quickly afterwards, and then it just got ridiculous where it was just.
I tell you what happened when they came to WWE.
Shawn Michaels was the leader of it, and then they brought X-Pac into it, and then Booker T almost got a look in, and Big Show was a temporary member.
Booker T was in it for a short time.
Yeah, and it was
as
just
a ballet.
silly behaviour.
No, he's a member.
The angle could have worked when they went into WWF. It could have worked, but it needed both sides to be absolutely on board, and there was no way Stone Cold, Triple H, people like that were going to job to the fucking NWO. They weren't going to have it. They weren't going to do it. They said, it's all, I'm not doing it. No. They can beat someone else, not beating me. I won't do it.
It's not like Triple H not to put anybody over, but that's a podcast for another time, isn't it?
Triple H.
Well, you know, the guys at WWE at the time had worked their artist stuff to get where there was.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it wasn't like, why should we let them older men who don't work as hard as us come in and just let them get so over that they take over the company and get all the money, and we don't get to make the money and they get to make the money. So that's what they all talk about. Wrestlers always talk about, yeah, let's go and do this, let's make some money. That's what they talk about. Can we make money doing this angle? Can we make money doing this? Like, those guys probably hated them. You know, look at Shawn Michaels. He hated Hogan. He didn't put him over, did he? He made him look stupid. Make him look stupid.
That match
because that's what he could do. And I
that's
don't
a great
him.
story, that one, isn't it? The Hogan and Shawn Michaels.
Do you know that could be a full episode one time? But right now we've not got long left, so we're going to move on.
I agree.
So
NWO worthy, definitely worthy of doing that.
Now, possibly the greatest heel of all time, Mr. McMahon.
Say it again, Phil.
The greatest heel, possibly of all time. You're not going to be too far wrong with Mr. McMahon, Vince McMahon Jr., whatever his name is. The guy was Vincent Kennedy McMahon Jr. That guy, if it weren't for him, Stone Cold Steve Austin would not be as big as he is today.
Very true.
Without Austin, you don't have McMahon. Without McMahon, you don't have the Rattlesnake. Complete and absolute genius booking. The boss versus the top employee, hating each other, second-guessing each other. I mean, he's had other feuds, but obviously the biggest one is between Stone Cold, Vince McMahon, possibly in one of the greatest, not possibly, definitely one of the greatest eras of wrestling, the Attitude Era, in WWE at the time, might have been F, but Vince versus Stone Cold is probably one of the best ever story feuds ever.
Hang on,
It
Phil.
was so much fun to be had.
Phil, we've got a message coming through.
Yes? Is that Vince appreciating my comments? Or
that was just for you.
Does he want to fight? Because the heartbreak, he's got another fight left in him yet, you know?
It was him all along, Phil. It was him all along, Austin. Thank God we don't have any video on this, because that would have lost us any video.
Takes me a bit longer to get my headphones back in though nowadays. But I've got one fight left.
Vince McMahon.
Would you like some facts about Vince McMahon?
Go for it, Gav.
Go for it, Gav.
On the 24th of August, so happy birthday next week, is it?
Oh, yeah.
Birthday.
And died in the 11th of June 2007 after his limo exploded. So
he did die, didn't he, in 2007?
He died at the age of 62.
So basically, he's like Jesus.
Oh, don't tell him that, though. He's the owner of WWE and half owner of the clothing brand Tap Out, which I didn't know until today.
I didn't know half owned Tap Out.
He's a one-time WWF champion and a Royal Rumble winner.
I remember that. I do remember that.
And he has a yacht called the Sexy Bitch.
I do know that because he sometimes rings me up and says, HB, why can you come down and give a bit of entertainment? There's I've got a few other divas on and then I need entertaining.
And he was a bodybuilder, wasn't he, as well, for many, many years. It was unbelievable. Like when you saw him coming down to the ring when he was going through the Austin feud, and he was dressed in wrestling attire. Never realised what
was underneath,
how ripped at the time that this guy was. It was incredible.
Let's be honest, right? Vince McMahon at 60 had a better body than most of them wrestlers that he's hired throughout their careers at any stage.
Absolutely incredible, wasn't it? How well he looked after himself at that time. But for me,
we can't not mention the quads though. Going into the ring, tearing both his quads at the same time.
Tell us about that, Gav. What was it all about? That what was he trying to do?
Wanted a botched finish to the Royal Rumble.
Yes.
And then he decided to intervene because they didn't know what to do. And then he slid into the ring and he tore his quads as he went in. Both of them.
Incredible.
And then he had to sit on the floor looking like a twat.
Yeah, berating the wrestlers and the referee. If no one has seen, again, add this to your list, to the Psycho Sid breaks his own leg. Vince McMahon tears both his own quads. It's absolutely incredible. And again, in front of an arena full of fans as well.
And a pay-per-view audience.
Oh, it's just absolutely brilliant. But you look at Vince McMahon, and he's your typical villain. You look at any of your favourite cartoons growing up, read any of your favourite comics or books, or your favourite TV shows, and Vince McMahon, he picks them up because he's got everything. He's got the money.
Yeah.
He's got the businesses. He's got the monopoly on the industry, on that show, and it's just, and he doesn't work as a face.
Go on.
He does not work as a face.
Go on. No, he doesn't, and he never would work as a face, but he, as a heel, is awesome. But like you say, money, power. Once you've got the money, then you get the power, then you get the women.
So you've never had money or power then, Phil?
No, but I've always had the women because I've got a 12-inch ruler. 30 centimetres. I got it at school.
Stationary always does come in handy, Phil.
It always does, especially if you want to draw a straight line. Right, listen. Listen, we're almost done. We've got about 5 or 6 minutes left. So that was your legendary heels, guys. Vince McMahon tops the tree for me. Absolute legendary heel. Okay, he's the owner of the company, and he's the worker of the company, and he's the heel of the company. But you know,
and he's the ruin of the company now.
Yeah, but you know, I always think there's a comeback there somewhere. You know, there will be. Look at that. Yeah.
Are we going on to birthdays before we finish?
Let's do a birthday.
Whose birthday is it? Go on then. Come on, Gavin.
Best one of the two, because I'm not really a fan of either one, is Spike Dudley, who's 50 on the 13th.
The runs of the litter.
Dudley.
How is he 50?
He was massive in ECW. They loved him there.
50 inches tall.
He is one wrestler that I will actually offer him now, actually. If you're listening, Spike, I will defend my playground title against you anytime you want. I think I've got a chance.
I think so.
I think I've got a chance.
Tell him to bring Hornswoggle. Make it a fair match.
Okay, who's next? Anyone else? Anyone else celebrating a birthday?
Well, we're not celebrating it, but Hulk Hogan's birthday was on the 11th.
When it comes crashing down and it hurts inside. Happy birthday, Hulk. Happy birthday,
Hulkster.
Okay. Is that it?
Gav, have you got any jokes for this week?
Oh, come on. Where's the joke, Gav?
Wrestling jokes.
Come on, Gav.
It's not the best one.
Go on then.
The entire time that Lita was dating Adam Copeland, she was on edge.
Oh.
Hey! Yes, she was. Yes, she was.
That is fantastic.
And when John Cena finally goes into a care home, do you know what he's going to have?
The joke would be better was
toothless
the entire
aggression.
time. Oh, sorry. So I just want to rewrite your joke about
Thanks,
Edge.
Phil, for killing a crap joke. Takes talent.
All the time that Lita was dating Matt Hardy, she was probably on Edge.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Fair enough. Yeah.
Poor bastard. Poor bastard.
I have one last one.
Go for it.
How does JR like his ice cream?
Don't know.
Stone Cold! Stone Cold! Stone Cold!
Yes! 1, 2, 3!
Didn't JR, God love him, he even brought out his own cookbook, didn't he? Was it his barbecue book?
Oh,
yes, he did a barbecue book,
JR.
I'm sure he did, yes, I'm sure he did.
He's got his own barbecue sauce, hasn't he?
He has he as well, hasn't he? Yeah.
Grilling
Stephen
JR.
Quinn has,
He's
don't-
got his own podcast called Grilling JR.
Oh, that's
Grilling
brilliant.
JR.
That's
Right,
just
okay.
genius. Right
We've
then,
got
guys. So, are we
just
getting
just
to
enough
podcast?
to, almost. We've got just enough time to preview what we're doing next week. Who's leading next week, guys? One of you two.
I think it's Gav's turn next week. Gav, have you got any ideas yet that we can put together on a poll? Or do we release that later on during the week?
We'll release that later on tonight when I think of something.
Fantastic.
Hey,
Always
I
well.
like to see the preparation always there. Look at
I
that.
did all the preparation for you, Phil.
So,
As usual.
so there will be a poll going live
Sorry,
between...
what's that? Oh, what's that there?
John Moxley's got nothing on me. I'd be able to walk into that AEW tomorrow,
What's
age
that,
of
Phil?
57. 57 I am. Look at me, I'm not bad for 57. Oh,
Stone.
yeah.
So the poll for the 2 or 3 choices that Gav might come up with will be going on Facebook. So people get your votes on there. It takes a couple of seconds of your time and it's all free as well. So get on there, get voting. Anything else to add, guys? Couple of things. Have we seen any wrestling from the last 7 days that has really
Gosh, yeah.
caught your attention?
I watched a bit of AEW, and in the second fight between the two of them, Orange Cassidy beat Chris Jericho.
Yes.
That was
He
amazing.
beat him. He botched the finish. He botched the
botch the
finish.
It's only a
It was a
slight
proper
But-
soft finish.
We'll forgive him for that,
Yeah.
because
But it
he's
was
only
good.
5'2".
It was still a good match, really, really good match as well.
Yeah.
And how about Brody
There's
Lee
what-
from Dark Order challenging for the TNT title? It was a good match between Scorpio Sky and Cody. And then at the end of it, Brody Lee came on the screen and he's created what looks like there's another like TNT belt that he's got. But I
Cody
think-
Rhodes can come to my living room anytime and he can challenge for my title. It's worth more than his. It's worth more than his. And do you know what? I hope he loses. I hope he loses.
He needs
That's,
to lose
that's
soon.
my opinion.
You know he's dodging you, Phil. You know full well he's dodging.
No, nobody wants to fight me. They're scared.
Yeah. So that'd be interesting. If I was a betting man, my money would be on Brody Lee to get that title. I don't think it's going to be too much longer before we see the eventual breakup of Kenny Omega and Hangman Page.
Finally.
Omega needs to be singles, doesn't he? That's what I've been reading.
And I
Omega's
think
a
the
hell of a
Dark
singles
Order-
competitor.
I think the Dark Order will sweep up, get the tag titles in that one, and then I can see before the end of the year, hopefully the Young Bucks getting the tag titles off the Dark Order as well.
Right.
So, WWE, oh my God, please stop Underground.
Okay,
When one
I've
guy
seen,
is beating
I've
another
seen
one,
some clips.
when one guy is beating another one by squeezing his crown jewels to make him quit the match,
That's
just stop.
pornographic.
Just
That's
stop.
not
Just
PG-13.
end it. Stop.
Yeah, I've seen a few clips and Shane McMahon's over the top reactions to it. It's just awful.
But
Um,
in thumbs up to WWE though, I did appreciate again Bray Wyatt, the Fiend. For me, he's just keeping it going. Bray Wyatt is gold, and the fact he's now got 3 personas is just it just gives him more scope to
Sounds
just
very
really,
Matt
really
Hardy,
run.
that, doesn't it?
I actually watched the Raw match today because it was on the telly and I was flicking and I saw a Raw replay and I put it on. I watched the match between Randy Orton and Kevin Owens.
Ah, right, yeah.
Raw match. Fucking boring, mate.
Kevin Owens
Absolutely
underrated.
boring.
There's no story to any of
Randy
the things in
Orton's
there.
Look, Randy Orton's supposed to be this big. He seems slow and plodding and can't be
awful.
asked.
He's awful. He's awful.
What a
Talk about
shite wrestler.
talk
I
about
mean, I've seen him
Raw,
ages ago, but what? He looks like me. Like I said, I'm 57, and he looks like me getting up off the floor.
57
Okay, I'm
stone.
40. I'm 40. Right, I know Dave needs to get off, so quickly I want to say, me and myself and Dave have a friend who's just had a baby. I know he's a subscriber to our YouTube channel. So Tom Walker and Charlotte, congratulations on the birth of your baby daughter, Hannah.
Yeah, fantastic news. How about this then for
I'm just going to play a slight applause clip, which you won't be able to hear, but the viewers will be able to.
Yeah, well done, guys. I'm sending love, much love.
Fantastic. So thanks for tuning in, guys. A great topic to cover this week, Phil. Really good. Big thanks to Gav for putting these schedules together once again. And it just leaves us on the podcast to say good night, God bless, take care of yourselves and each other, and tune in next week. Keep an eye out for the poll as well once we discover next week's topics.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. See you next week, lovers.
Cheers, guys. All the best. Take care.
See you next week.
Ciao.